So I don't know how much you know about Tom Paine, but as I was saying, uh, he ran into Ben Franklin in London, and Franklin said, "Oh, go to Philadelphia. My son-in-law has a newspaper there. He'll hire you." Right? So he comes to Philadelphia, and all the revolutionaries are hanging out in bars, and they say, "Oh, we need a declaration. We need a document. We need something to state our what we're doing." Of course, that's called treason, and they hang you for it. Tom, you're new here. You write it. So he writes Common Sense, which was read by or to just about everyone in the 13 colonies. And the money he gets from it, he gives to Washington for the army. Washington loses every battle. Paine writes Common Sense. And this paragraph that I had in the brochure is the first paragraph of Common Sense number 1, which Washington reads to the troops on their way to Trenton. And it's the first battle they win. Then he goes to England, and the French Revolution breaks out. And he goes to France, and he writes the Age of Reason. And he's elected to the Constituent Assembly in France. He doesn't speak French. And he says, "Oh, France is great. They they're the first group to overthrow the monarchy. So George is just a man. He's no longer king. Why kill him? Exile him." That pisses Robespierre off, and Paine ends up in a French jail. He starts writing Age of Reason, which is his book on religion, while he's there. And he's sort of mad at Washington because he thinks Washington just left him in jail. He spent a couple of years there. He doesn't get brought back to the United States until Jefferson gets elected. Jefferson brings him back. And the last book he writes is called oh, what's it called? Rural Reform. And he says he makes two suggestions. One is that people work their whole lives and they die in poverty, and that the government should supply financing for their end of life. Um, he wrote this as 1792. 1936, Social Security was first passed, which answered that. The other thing he noted is that the rich give their children money so they can do something, so they can start something, uh, and that should be part of the government's job as well. And that becomes, and he works out a whole single tax, land tax thing, which becomes Henry George's thing. Paine's my first hero. 250 years later, we're fighting the same fight. So, what do poets have to say about it?
Well, I'm Alan Anthony. I'm here in Benicia, California. Yeah, common sense. It's interesting. There was a quick study that was done asking people, I think it was the Cato Institute. They did a survey about people like, do you understand what the Independence Day is about? That was kind of a tell there. No, 40, almost 50% didn't know why we celebrated the 4th of July. They didn't know it had anything to do with the Declaration of Independence. So history doesn't so much repeat itself. I just, you know, I really desire it to be common sense, but I don't know that the real true common sense exists. History doesn't repeat itself so much as hide in the background. And all we hear lately, and all it seems to be, is war and rumors of war. And so this is war and rumors of war. More than a century ago, against a powerful foe, United States, most angered and mean, President Wilson, indignant and keen, entered World War I, April 6, 1917. Fake news and false prophets, before then as now, leads us to war. Does it best to persuade with drums loud a righteous crusade? Edward Bernays, father of fake news, father of false prophets, father of lies, no ties to truce. He wrote the book, Propaganda, then Psychological Shaping Public Opinion. Bernays knew no facts you can't twist and wars of rumor to make the story fit. No images real or strong enough to invite, incite, were wrong enough. None too remote not to promote war, rumors of war, we shall smote. Wilson's White House watched, birth of a nation endorsed, silent majority, media education, all-time moneymaker grossing sensation. Shall we salute and intend our elation? Shall we endure the end destination? War and rumors of war, whose land, whose lines, written in sand by holy hand to be saved, crossed again and again. Casting stones settles many a score. Righteous cast stones first for a war. War and rumors of war, hope nevermore.
The name of my poem is called Juneteenth, but it could be read for freedom as well. So, the emancipation of proclamation tasted like candied yams to the belly. It left a people plump and bony. Freedom sang a soprano sea, then dense fog hovered, crawled like a tarantula over Reconstruction, Jim Crow, civil rights. Breezy winds blew, black ice and coral haze skies sparked the people to push, reach, seize, hope, and grab back. Progression was their magnanimous lover. It seemed never to be adulterous. Then 41 shots shook Diallo. One shot took Trayvon's breath. All watched Garner whisper his last breath. Aubrey's jog converted to death, and Floyd's noose swung with great depth. Is this the American dream? Is it a partial one? Is it a cemented one? Why does it feel like quicksand? Thank you.
I'm not sure this is a poem, so I call it rant. If you think everything is breaking, you're correct. The government is eating itself alive. We, the people, pawns, led to believe we had a say, that if we vote, we could surely affect how things are handled, what goes down under the flag of shared ideals. The winds of greed and hate shred the white, red, and blue, probably irreparably. We are trapped in the undertow of tyrannical white men who, with their law-perverting consorts, ignore or revile everyone else, support only themselves. Thanks.
Hello. My poem is called The World of Today. Why is it that the world rolls itself over, tail wagging to the tune of placation, at the very slightest intimation of saying something? Shouldn't voices be heard? Wasn't that always the point? Men, women, children even, who should not be so forcefully dragged into the world of their parents' eyes, raise their flags to shout defiance at being silenced. But their voices are lost to the screaming horde, whose only voice is one of chaos and hunger and pain. When did we give over saying something meaningful to the endless anger of the raging mob? Or maybe we gave it up a long time ago, sometime after the founding fathers gave their voices and rose above the crowd, after the war that split the world, that tore down loves and loyalties alike. Maybe the anger is at ourselves, at our own helplessness and foolish hopes and pride and love. Now we are dogs, the dregs of the world we shaped, tore down to fit our own wishes, held at gunpoint and forced into acquiescence. Now we tremble at the thought of a voice, tremble at being any more than a hopeless bystander in our own lives, our own futures. When the voices we push through feeble throats, throats so gnawed by thoughts caught and trapped that tried to slice their way through the barrier we erected across that gateway to adversity and meaning, are shot like game pigeons from the sky, we take it as some symbol that we were never meant to fly at all. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
All right. To scroll beyond belief. According to my feed, we have welcomed this stuffed puppet attached to the grill of a truck backed up to our door with its high-pitched alarm to vacuum abort our living, children asleep with their joysticks tucked tight. Didn't we get the notices? Didn't we check the box at the bottom of the endless scroll, the screed we didn't read, invented to dull our senses? When did we stop bothering to translate the tongues of tyranny? There, we're all so worn down from the EMFs and 5Gs, we have to drown out the syllables, sibilant air escaping the bodies. They have torn our rings from our fingers, our passcodes from our memory, our God from our prayers.
Just a word about the American Revolution. A lot of people today, they look at the president and they wonder what was really gained by the American Revolution. And certainly there's a lot of unimaginable horror stories, but you might want to look at the entrance to the Northwest entrance to the art museum. There's 6 statues. 5 of the 6 are military commanders who came from other countries to become military leaders of the revolution. And they weren't paid to do this. They came for a cause. But they lived under brutal royal families. And the idea of an elected government was revolutionary. One of the limitations was that under feudal kings, the religious clerics ruled. They had real power. And the idea of freedom of religion was a real revolutionary idea. But when Tom Paine wrote his Age of Reason, he was intensely criticized and isolated because religion continued to have a big effect. So this is part of the give and take of what was happening at that time. The title of the poem is the Quest for Freedom in the year 2026. Today, immigration and custom enforcement officers are putting people in concentration camps. What is the crime that was committed? People were born in other countries. The United States government, the news media, and the educational system are all determined to ignore a basic fact. People have no control over where we are born. Then there is the decision by the governments of the United States and Israel to murder, mutilate, or starve a population of 2 million Palestinians. Not satisfied with these atrocities, the United States is now at war against the nation of Iran. The president says he wants a deal. The Iranian people want their own government. Iran didn't like their president Mossadegh to be overthrown by a U.S. organized coup. They didn't like the United States support of the Iraqi invasion of their country. Iran didn't like making deals with the United States only to have those deals violated over and over again. Today, Iranian people don't like their little children murdered because of a US bombing. Saying all that, what does the word freedom mean today? First, we need to demand things. Things that people who have power believe are totally unacceptable. People all over the world need to have several lifetime rights. These are the lifetime rights to food, clothing, housing, health care, education, communication, transportation, and exposure to culture. There was a time when some people argued that the system of chattel slavery would last forever. Today, they argue that corporate profits are more important than human needs. Chattel slavery no longer exists. Today, working people have the capacity to make this a world where there will be liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
But anyway, I'm glad to be here, glad to be on. My poem is called DEI Shall Not Die, and I have to make a correction in the poem, but I'll just go ahead and say it with the correction in it, okay?
Yep.
DEI shall not die. DEI shall not die because we shall not be moved. Anti-woke better wake up because we should not be moved. Gerrymandering all you can because we should not be moved. We're going to take a stand throughout this land. We're going to stay awoke and make sure we vote because we shall not be moved. You banned our books and erased our names. Where there is no honor, there is no shame. Celebrating celebrating liberation for 250 years. What about all the blood? What about all the tears? 6 years before 1776, men were armed with clubs and with sticks. One man was a whaler, a stevedore, and a sailor. He was not free, yet he fought for this country's liberty. Crispus Attucks was the first to be struck in America's Revolution. This black man was not the problem. He was part of the solution. Although enslaved, he went to his grave, brave and unafraid. He paved the way for the USA to celebrate its 4th of July holiday. One man, 2 words. Have you heard? Crispus Attucks. Say it again. Crispus Attucks. Say it again louder. Crispus Attucks. Say it again louder. Crispus Attucks. Say it again louder. Crispus Attucks. Say his name 250 times. Let the Liberty Bell chime 250 times. Write his name on the walls of justice at Independence Hall and Constitution Avenue. The truth deserves its due. Diversity, equity, liberation, inclusion, equality, participation. Heed the call. Let the freedom bell ring for all, because we shall not be moved. Asante Sana. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, everyone.
This is called Found Freedom Song. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. Well, we all want to change the world. Born free, free as the wind blows. Freedom cut me loose, like freedom fields where wild horses run. I'm set free to find a new illusion. Freedom of dreams, freedom to believe. Freedom, yeah, right, anger is a gift. Keep on rocking in the free world. We shall all be free someday. We shall overcome someday. Mind, use your power. Spirit, use your wings. And we gazed upon the chimes of freedom flashing. Thank you.
I have a poem called a dream about Mike Pence from 2023 because I had a dream about Mike Pence in 2023. I was talking with alternate universe Mike Pence, who had long ago accepted that he was gay, but he was still sometimes stunningly stupid. Pence was an English professor in South Jersey, but near Philadelphia, not redneck South Jersey. I'd applied for a job in his department, and we'd known each other from some other jobs. We were in a brutalist concrete office building, a little like a beehive, a little like a 5-story garage. It had all the charm of naked cinder block. Each office's identical, ugly, rectangular window in the exact center of its wall was visible only from outside. The insides were windowless. At first, we talked about the art world. I was thinking about how to ditch my dead-end career. I'd recently been invited to perform in another city. I was respected in a tiny circle of poets and writers, but I had nothing to sell at the gig. Then we were talking about countries that love the arts. Pence had been to New Zealand. He'd enjoyed the sheep and picturesque mountains. As we left his office's sterile halls, he mentioned his neighbors had stolen his vermilion silk designer scarf. I was sure it was because he was gay, but pretended that wasn't even possible. Then we were on a nice new commuter train like one in Tokyo talking about Ron Reagan, President Reagan's son. Pence had followed Ron's ballet and journalism careers, but kept saying Ron was trans. I didn't correct him, though I thought he should know. I thought alternate universe Mike Pence was a lot nicer to talk with. I felt sorry for him since his neighbors hated him and stole his stuff, and he had no clue. It was almost like people could try to kill him and he'd somehow missed the whole point.
You know, Thomas Paine went down to Washington's Crossing on the Delaware and wanted to join George Washington's army. And Washington told him, "You're more valuable to me as a writer than a soldier." So I'm going to read one of the poems I sent in called Natural Selection. And it's got an epigraph. Natural selection is Darwin's theory that organisms that are more adapted to their environment are more likely to survive. My oldest daughter called me on the phone and asked me, "Dad, do you remember feeling superior to girls and at what age that would have been?" She with a boy and girl of her own. And I instantly had a memory. I was in second grade. The bell rang for recess. I burst through the door, sprinted across the playground to the monkey bars, leaving the girls in my dust. I ascended, well, like a monkey. I watched two girls struggle to climb and felt like king of the hill. It would be at least a year before Mrs. Lynch returned a math test in which I got a B, and I would turn to see that Susie got an A, opening up alternative possibilities to natural selection. The next day, I called my daughter to apologize. "I lied to you yesterday," I said. "I didn't mean to lie, but I woke up this morning with a distinct knowing when I first felt superior. It was when they taught me God was my gender. There's no undoing that. Despite Genesis clearly stating he made them in his image, male and female, he created them, the world would be quite different if it said she made them in her image, male and female, she created them." We just bombed a girls' school in Iran. They are digging bodies of children from the rubble in Gaza and Lebanon, all because two monkeys made it to the top.
by the title of the poem, you'll sort of guess what the poem is about or who the poem is about. And I might be the only person who's not American in this panel, but freedom, I mean, whatever happens in America affects the whole world, A, and B, freedom is important and it shouldn't be eroded when we fought so hard for it over centuries, actually. And thirdly, the person to whom this poem is, this poem is inspired by a certain person, and he was in turn inspired by a few Indian freedom fighters. So there's a slight connection back to India, where I'm from. So the title is A Dream of Many Colors. Ahead of his time, freedom was main theme. He was born colored, didn't live long, but that's not why we are singing this song. Justice would flow like a sparkling stream. About him we've written ream upon ream. Too soon, too brutally, he paid his dues. Worried madmen blew their fuse. Yet his openness left a golden seam. He sparked it all by telling us his dream. Still to many, of hope he is king. He didn't know his praises they'd all sing. Against hidden slavery gave lots of steam. Did he guess his dream would become so disarrayed? Fragment due to dysfunction of civil liberties. Folks polarized, justice would be grayed. People pulled apart by political parties. The bubble economy would help the affluent to accrue more wealth, while homelessness would thrive unequally. Land built by immigrants would tighten laws, normalize helplessness. Abraham, Martin, Malcolm, Bobby, John didn't squeeze the life out of naive John Doe. Their untimely deaths, many still mourn. Would they have accepted the current status quo? Thank you.
My poem is Duplex on America with 3 Ks. Democracy, rights, rule of law, all traits of a civilized nation. In other words, white imaginaries of power, hierarchy, profit, systems of oppression crafted through such imaginaries, oozing greed, arrogance, and exceptionalism. Who and what are exceptional? White demons wreaking havoc, leaving trails of blood and bone, shit and sinew in their path. Trails of blood and bone mark malevolent geographies. Such trails of tears are the foundation of this empire. Desecrated remains amongst rubble, familiar remnants of imperial campaigns. I dream of a freedom where no person, no peoples are subject to such terror. Who and what are terrorists? States, empires, and their wrath, not resistance in their tactics. The same white demons now protesting genocide, foreign interference, and fascism, ignored genocide, foreign interference, and fascism until these encroached upon their everyday. Complicity and privilege, citizenship and borders does not equal freedom nor care, only apathy. Thank you.
This is a pantoum,
Oh.
8647. Hail to the thief. May cold, sharp-edged rocks fall from righteous, bleak skies in furious, frozen, torrential pall upon the grifter's grandiloquent lies. From righteous, bleak skies may fist-size ice rocks descend upon grifter's grandiloquent lies, his sycophants unable to defend. May fist-size ice rocks descend, smashing his cruelty, his treason, his sycophants unable to defend, ending the grifter's long, grim season. Smashing his cruelty, his treason, Hear the excoriating sky gems call, ending the grifter's long grim season. May cold, sharp-edged rocks fall. Thank you for listening.
This poem is called Un-American. We've met before, I know we have. Your voice, it seems so real. I can't remember where it was, but I do recall how you made me feel. It was so unexpected in a gentle type of way. I listened to your words and the clever things you'd say. You spoke above the crowds in a voice that was not loud, captured hearts and minds that day, so tall, confident, and proud. Some said you had a dream they hoped would soon come true, where we all would look the same and be your chosen few. You lifted up their spirits, sifted through some pains, gave them all a villain, told them who to blame. Your smile was bright and caring, a showman born to be, leading them one by one to a place they longed to see. You didn't ask for much, though many wanted to pay. Your currency, dreamers' loyalty, was all you wanted that day. You raised the villain higher, lifted them in a lynching tree, tossed them all a stone, then watched till all were thrown. They looked for your approval, you standing on that hill, waving and lightly smiling. For you, they said they'd kill. Now, I'd had enough excitement for my usual typical day. I only stopped to listen because all your folks were in my way. As I turned to leave you, I remember where we'd met. It was in school and I was a kid. Oh my, how could I ever forget? We learned about those people, the angry malcontents, holding tight with all their might for power and sheer delight. I walked away with sadness so deep within my heart, backing down a familiar path when yesterday's tomorrows are here right now. When will we learn that time will never wait? That small-minded little boy will surely suffer a familiar fate. I'll mourn for all the people. He sparked a sad daydream while stealing more than lonely hopes of an old American theme.
This body collective. My face aches with heated liquid waves I carry that slosh inside my head, frying neurons. Cheeks vibrate in anger. Skeleton rubs bone against bone. Sinews creak and crackle. Tendons stretch but don't snap. At last, I scream in protest, a long, agonized lamentation joining a rising chorus across America. Thank you.
I'm by nature a speculative writer. I wrote this poem, which was my first pantoum 25 years ago, in response to just the presidency of George W. Bush. This was before September 11th. But I find the sentiment still just as appropriate for today's reality under the Trump regime. So to give credit where it's due, this poem was previously published by Edge City Review in 2001, and it earned honorable mention in Byline's formal poetry contest in fall of 2001. It's called American Black Shirt. American Black Shirt. He crouches, shadowing shadows behind an insignificant bush. Suburban street lamps fail to flush him from his lair. Behind an insignificant bush, he is still obvious, in dark as in day. To flush him from his lair, a neighbor need only name him. He is still obvious, in dark as in day. He stutters red-faced proclamations. A neighbor need only name him to attract the proper authority. He stutters red-faced proclamations. We index, broadcast, gossip, hyperlink to attract the proper authority. Too bad the neighborhood's asleep. We index, broadcast, gossip, hyperlink. He crouches, shadowing shadows. Too bad the neighborhood's asleep. Suburban street lamps fail. Thank you.
This poem is an ekphrastic, I guess, and I don't want to degrade the proceedings, but it's based on an episode from a Saturday Night Live 13 years ago with Robert De Niro and Maya Rudolph portraying Thomas Jefferson and Sally Hemings. So tongue partly in my cheek, but it's called Founding Mothers. TJ and Sally jumped over the broom, a different kind of bride and groom, a different kind of progeny when man can fuck his property after codifying freedom, a different kind of intent in the annals of consent while basking in hypocrisy, pretending it's democracy, as in, don't ask, don't tell, don't drop a leaf into that well expecting a splash, predictable backlash if revealed too soon that our founding mother was just a quadroon. 2 centuries later, they still deny her burial in the family cemetery, forestalling a virtual flood of tainted blood. What possible epitaph would make up for this gaffe in public relations, this nagging mystery in the pages of history? Maybe have Billie Holiday crooning softly over the PA, her version of fine and mellow in the hallowed halls of Monticello. Thank you.
In the pursuit of happiness, our country, we want it back. History is a mystery, a mystery murkier than the Mississippi, deeper than an abyss holding all truths not yet fully evident. 250 years less than a universe's wink. Some, our colonial forefathers, told us these truths were self-evident, endowed by a creator created equal. We are inalienable and steady, rights in hand. We must white knuckle the wheel. We are the people who choose. We choose life. We hold love and happiness in pursuit. We find liberty. No preamble is required. We, the people, secure these rights. We must consent. It is our right by birth, by blood, spilled for many generations. We have come, gone, and altered our future. We, the people, committed to abolish slavery, institute equal justice for all races, creed, religions, genders, transgenders, safely establish life without sorrow, now built in prejudice, fear, jealousy, and self-loathing. Our dictates can only be held within the accountable hands, the people. It is for happiness and prudence, nothing be changed for light and transient causes. We, mankind, womankind, and all kinds alike, must not dispossess anyone who reaches for the rings on our shores. Those who suffer evil, accustomed to despotism and governments of guards, prisons, and insecurity, it is fitting that our duty is to throw off such a government and provide new guards for our mutually assured security. We, the people in the United States. Thank you, Larry.
My poem's entitled, can you hear me? My poem's entitled, We Want Liberation at 250. This is not a good time for the United States of America. We seemed to be at the crossroads. Capitalism is dying. The question is, must we die with it? I do not wish to. I would like to liberate my land, as every working person so desires. I await freedom every morning and desire liberation like I desire my morning coffee or tea. The problem, Cuba must remain communist. If the United States of America is ever to be liberated, perhaps the pride of being the first nation to rule itself without a king. But in that pride, did one have to murder Native Americans, enslave people of African descent, and destroy the ability of the working class citizens to have a union? They deserve the right to organize. We hope to hold on to old glory, for it is not a tool to beat up black man. We hope to restore the indigenous people. Their number grows day by day. Multiculturalism, multilingualism shall become the order of the day. It is hoped that the nation will embrace socialism with as great a spirit as it once reviled it. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Whoops. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, poets. L'incarnazione di Donaldo de Trampolini, the crowning of Donald, our king of the misguided states of America. After Claudio Monteverdi, 1600, and Benito Mussolini, 1940. But is it satire? Is it parody? Is it MAGA comedy? Or is it just a picaresque poem? Pur ti miro, ed you I gaze. Tu son io, yours I am, pur ti godo. In you I delight. Spemme mia, you are my hope. Mi convinci, you convince me. Dillo di, say it, say it. A te sono legato. To you I am bound. L'idole mio, il mine convidito, il tuo dolore. I feel your pain, e la verità è nient'altro che la verità. It's the truth and nothing but the truth. Per te io muoio. For you I die. See me, ben, yes, my beloved. O mia vita, O my life, si mio cor, yes, my heart, O mi tesoro, O my treasure, mia vita, si, my life, yes, you are my life, io son tuo, I'm yours. Tu sei il mio re, you are my king, sono un re, I am a king, tu sei il re, you are the king, lunga vita al nostro re, long live our king, lunga vita io il re, long live I, the king, lunga via al nostro prezioso re, long live our precious king, lunga vita re Donaldo, long live King Donald, lunga vita al nostro prezioso re, long live our precious king, lunga vita Donaldo re, long live King Donald. And you, my obedient subjects, be loyal, as you have no choice. When I, your king, blunders you into war, oh yes, you will adore the many dead heroes even more, and you will love me unconditionally. Lunga vita, Donaldo Re. And my stupid head hurts ever so badly. That's all I have to say.
Conversation. He was just sitting there, his legs crossed, on a park bench, Lake Michigan spread out in the growing darkness, I spoke first. I was hoping I might run into you here. It's my city. Where else would I be on the 4th? Burnham Park is the best spot to view the fireworks. He was quiet for a moment. Is that the Naval Yard? I asked, interrupting his silence. Wait a minute. You'll see how the lights from the celebration mirror in the water in front of the boats. The whole city in the background. I was thinking what to say. The 250th makes it extra special. Do you find yourself getting philosophical? Sometimes. Aren't former presidents supposed to get that way? I saw where you posted online how free people choose. They choose to bind their fates together. That's why democracy endures, he reflected, because there are things we can't do alone, things it takes a whole nation to do. I look up. The fireworks are being launched. An explosion of light fills the sky. I wait a few moments for their sound to travel across the water. Chicago is lit up by the display, colors reflecting off all the buildings. We sit together, quiet, awed, each time the momentary beauty of it all. Thank you.
My identity. After October 7th, 2023, life changed. My identity rearranged. Used to be a woman, became a Jewish woman. Used to be a resident of a small town, became a Jewish resident of a small town. Used to be a member of a nonprofit board, became a Jewish member of nonprofit board. Used to be a poet and songwriter, became a Jewish poet and songwriter. Used to be a family law attorney, became a Jewish family law attorney. Used to be your friend, became your Jewish friend. By October 7th, 2025, life completely changed. My identity totally rearranged. Now I am that Zionist Jew woman, that Zionist Jew resident of a small town, that Zionist Jew member of a nonprofit board, that Zionist Jew poet and songwriter, that Zionist Jew family law attorney, and you are no longer my friend. Now I wear the Star of David around my neck, never to forget my true identity, and I light candles on Friday night, fully supporting Israel's fight. Now aware if Israel dies, so do I, right here in America.
Thank you all for joining us. Talk to your neighbors. It's really important to share your opinions and to hear theirs. You know, democracy only works when you voice your opinion. So please do so and join us next time. Thank you.